Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I thought before the new year ends, I think it's like, is it New Year's Eve today? No, the day before New Year's Eve. It's like New Year's Eve today. But yeah, I thought before the new year's up, I might as well do a little channel update. I did one, I think it was August, like near the end of August time. It's been a few months, I think it's 4 months or so since then. I've lost track of time. So yeah, I thought I might as well do another update just to let you know how everything's going, I guess. So I've got a list of things on my phone to go through because I thought I might as well try and prepare this in some way, just some bullet points and stuff. So the first thing probably mention is, because I think in the last one I mentioned a bit about like how I was doing in general, like with the mental health stuff. Things haven't improved really. Yeah, things haven't really been getting better. My therapy ended because I was doing CBT at the time, cognitive behavioral therapy. And that I believe ended like end of July, start of August, I think. And then the only thing I've really had is some employment support because that was something that I could get alongside the therapy. So I started that like the end of August, I think. And so yeah, I've had that, which it's not really been like proper therapy because obviously they're an employment support. They have like I think a bit of qualified training in mental health and mental illness, but they're not like an actual therapist. So yeah, there's not really much they can do, I'm afraid. They have like given me a little like a schedule. I've actually got it behind me in that book there. Which it's been helping a little bit, but the problem is like with a lot of behavioral activation and CBT, it's trying to keep that in place is the thing. It's trying to actually, it's not the schedule that's the problem. It's not like, the things on it or anything. It's more putting that into action and putting it into place that's the issue. So yeah, I've had that, but I mean, overall, things haven't really gotten any better, unfortunately. I'm waiting for when the next therapy will come. I've got no idea when. I was told by my employment support, could be by the end of the year, but we're on December 30th now, so unless it's going to come in the next 2 days. Probably don't know when it's going to be coming, but NHS backlogs and things are a thing, aren't they? It's everything's messed up, isn't it? And it's going to be a kind of next step of CBT, which honestly I don't really think is the best idea because CBT's never really worked for me usually. But I've been referred on from my CBT therapist. I think it's because I managed to kind of engage with some of it a bit, but I wasn't able to engage with it fully. And so now I'm going to try and put in something a bit more intensive. And I believe they said that it would also have some kind of more talking therapy stuff like counselling or whatever kind of interweaved in there to kind of deal with some of the shit that's going on in my head. But yeah, I've got no idea when that's coming. It's going to be at some point, hopefully in the near future. I've also put on here that I want to be a little bit more open about what I'm going through because I feel like I've been a bit more open than probably most people are. And to be fair, I'm not saying that as in like that it's bad that people aren't open about their mental health, because I think there's a massive stigma around mental illness at the moment from a lot of people. There's a lot of people who don't really fully understand what it's like to live with it unless they've actually lived with it themselves. And even then, I think because everyone's experience is so different, it's very difficult to kind of empathize sometimes with exactly what someone's going through. And so I've tried to be a bit more open because I feel a bit more comfortable being open, but even then I haven't gone into much detail on stuff. So I thought I might go a bit more into detail, not necessarily on the reasons why. I'm not going to turn this into a therapy session where I'm going to say, oh, this person did this and this thing happened to me or whatever, but I thought I might explain a bit more like what my life's like, essentially. You might notice, I've got the lights off at the moment because I've got my lovely ring lights in. And I normally turn the lights off just to make it a bit more moody, I don't know. But you might notice I'm maybe a bit more dishevelled and, I'm in my pyjamas at the moment. Because that's what most days are like, really. I, kind of self-care and hygiene stuff usually are out the window most of the time. Last time I had a shower, I think, was just before Christmas Eve, because I met up with Ellie, who's been on the channel a few times. I think it's Travel and Theme Parks Hub, or Theme Park and Travel Hub. It's one of those ways around. Sorry if I got that wrong. But yeah, so I met up with her, and so I had a shower before then. But it's like most of the time I don't, and it's just simply because that's what depression does to you. And it's not that it does it to everyone. Of course, there are a lot of people who can still live their lives with depression, with anxiety. But with some people, it takes out self-care, and that's partially because you don't have the energy, you don't have the motivation, but also just because of self-hate. I have that quite a bit, and so yeah, like it's kind of a mixture of those things that just make it difficult to look after myself really a lot of the time. That goes into other things as well, you know, not just hygiene but sleep as well. Sleep's, I mean, God, I got so little sleep last night. I had to have a lie-in this morning because, yeah, I had very little sleep, actually not because of the mental illness, it was actually because of physical pain last night that I was going through. But sometimes it's even just that I'm kept awake by, not even necessarily by depressive thoughts, but sometimes like by my ADHD. It just keeps my mind going constantly, and sometimes I can't sleep, so then insomnia becomes a thing, and so that's not fun. Another way to explain about the kind of, you know, not being able to keep up with self-care and stuff like that is like, people always use an analogy of like spoons. In a way, it's a very weird analogy, I don't really know why it's spoons, but like how many spoons you have during a day, and it's basically kind of a way of explaining burnout with like, you know, you have a certain amount of spoons and you have to kind of like conserve what spoons you use up during the day. Again, I don't know why it's spoons, I think I might have to look that up. But yeah, like, you know, if you do like a social interaction, that might be a couple of spoons, and then you might have a shower or something, that's a couple of other spoons, and do a bit of housework, that's a couple of other spoons. You have to kind of like conserve how many spoons you have during the day. And for some people, a task might be a couple of spoons, but for other people, that same task might be several spoons. You know, it might be that you use up a lot more of your spoons during the day. Essentially, your spoons being like your energy, how much you can do. And I think for me, it's that I don't really have many spoons to begin with, and a lot of tasks take a lot of spoons. And so I kind of have to like conserve what I can do. And depending, like, if I'm going out somewhere doing something, I kind of save spoons for them things. So like when I go out to Towers or when I record a YouTube video, I'm probably conserving my energy from other days for those days. So yeah, it's quite difficult dealing with all that. You know, because obviously I want to live as a normal person. I think a lot of people probably wouldn't really understand, like they wouldn't really understand, oh, why can't you just do it? Why can't you just go and have a shower, and, you know, why can't you just like put a sleep cycle back in place? Like, I've tried. I've tried for, you know, I've been going through like therapy and stuff for like 4 years now ish. And yeah, I've been tried many different things, CBT multiple times. This has been kind of like the first official CBT I've had, but CBT's been a thing throughout all my therapies, where they've tried to like put in behavioral activation, which is essentially where you like bring in behaviors like, you know, going to have a shower, brushing your teeth, trying to put a sleep cycle back in, doing activities, going out for a walk, stuff like that. That's what behavioral activation is, and essentially the theory that, I think from what was explained to me in CBT, it was like there were 5 different areas, and once you kind of master one area, that will help you master the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, and that will eventually improve your mood. The problem with me is actually putting something like the behavioural activation into place, because of what I mentioned earlier, the spoons and the lack of energy and stuff like that. And it's just like, it is kind of easier said than done in a way. Like, I think a lot of people would say, oh, just do it, but it's like, there's just a lot of stuff, I think, over the years that's just become ingrained now, and so it just makes living difficult, unfortunately, which then moves on to another thing which has been more prominent over the last few months, which is suicidal thoughts, which have been back in again. And yes, I am going to say the word suicide, because I know that YouTube doesn't like that. You know, people like to say unalived themselves. I kind of find that a little bit more insulting, if I'm honest. Like, it's a real thing. It's a thing that people go through. I have to deal with the thoughts now. I mean, over the last few months, it's been on like a near day-to-day basis where I've had thoughts of death. So yeah, it's a real thing, and I'm not just going to like use a silly phrase because it gets past YouTube's like demonetization or whatever. Like, no, it's suicide. That's what it is, and it's rough, and yeah, it's really difficult to deal with on a daily basis, and there's not really much I can do about it. I mean, fortunately, I should make very clear, and I make clear to anyone when I talk about this, that I am in a safe position at this point. I made a few attempts a few years back on my life, and a lot of safety precautions were put in after that. And so, yes, I am physically safe, but that doesn't mean that the thoughts go away at all. And sometimes it's not even like anything specific that triggers it. It might just be general feelings of depression. There might be something that triggers it. Might remember something or whatever. But it's also just like, it's just because I've been dealing with the depression for so long, it's just over time you'd naturally get thoughts of not wanting to be around anymore. In a way, so yeah, so that's been difficult to deal with. I think I've been kind of more open on Twitter about that kind of stuff, but even then, probably not fully open about it. But yeah, it's just it's incredibly difficult to deal with all that, and that kind of then feeds into, again, the reason why there's not really much motivation for other things, why I don't really have motivation for looking after myself, because it's like, if I don't want to be alive anymore, then what's the point in, looking after myself in any way? And it's not even necessarily about not wanting to be alive, it's just not wanting to live anymore. And I think there's a difference between the two. Like, I feel like being alive is like, your heart's beating and you're breathing and your blood pumping through your veins. And then living is like actually having to go through each day, is having to get up in the morning, make breakfast, go out and do a job, go and interact with people, all that kind of stuff. It's just... yeah, that's the kind of bit which, it's not necessarily wanting to die, it's just not wanting to live through life anymore, I think. And that's, it's not fun. It's not fun to have those thoughts at all. It's very upsetting. And yeah, I've not really had a good outlet for that. And there have been a lot of people that have tried to be there for me, and I appreciate all of them. I'll probably be mentioning a few of them later on in this video. But yeah, it's just... there's only so much they can do, is the thing. Like, if therapists have been struggling to try and help me, then obviously people who aren't therapists are going to struggle to try and help me as well. But yeah, that's pretty much the situation I'm in, just very dark, terrible thoughts for most days, not really looking after myself much. I mean, I've got the beard back again. I always say that the longer my beard is, it's usually the worse I'm doing, because, again, it's the lack of self-care. You remember me from opening day last year, the massive beard, and I think I'd grown that since scare season, like since Halloween. And so that was clearly, I wasn't doing great during that period, and neither am I at the moment. And I think it is kind of a seasonal thing, like, seasonal depression, kind of in the winter months. But even then, like, and that's probably going on to the next topic on my thing, is that about scare season, which normally scare season, October time is usually the best time of year for me, because I get to go to a load of scare events. I'm kind of in my element, and also it's kind of the one holiday where I feel like you're allowed to be yourself in a way. Like, you don't have to necessarily be happy all the time. You can express yourself a bit more. Obviously I always go in costume to events, and that's another way of expressing myself. And so usually scare season is a better time of year for me, and yet this year it was such a struggle as well. Even the best time of year, I even normally say the most wonderful time of the year was a struggle for me again. I think that's partially because of also I'd run out my student loan by, buying stuff for scare events and stuff. So scare season was a little bit more kind of subsidised down a little bit. It was a little bit more smaller scale. So I pretty much did sort of like the same events as last year, but not for as many days, I don't think. Despite the fact that, I've had a good time at these events, it was still quite difficult to get through, really. Another thing was that I didn't film, because I said in the last channel update that I was going to film things like Fright Nights and Burton Scream Fest and all that stuff. I only actually filmed stuff for Towers, and the reason mainly was because again, that kind of lack of energy. But there were also some certain things that happened with each of the events. So I think Burton Scream Fest is the easier one to talk about, which is because I was with Aaron, who had done Scare Seekers with the podcast. I saw him on the opening day vlog. Great guy. Great to hang out with him again. And I just didn't really want to film while we were there, to be honest. I'm just going to switch my hands around because my arm is aching. Ugh. So I met up with Aaron at Burton Scream Fest, and I just wanted to enjoy the evening, to be honest, and just have a good time not having to film while I was there. I also went to Altons Towers on Halloween as well. I'll talk about that in a bit as well, but that was kind of another thing where I just wanted that just to be my own day in a way, and so didn't really want to have to film it. But for Fright Nights, I did actually go to Thorpe Park Fright Nights, but I think I mentioned in the Virtual Towers Online Forbidden Valley update that there was a thing that happened with Thorpe. I've briefly talked about it on the channel. I think I put it in like an unlisted video after this whole incident happened. But I'll go into it again briefly. I don't really want to like rant about it too much, but essentially what happened was, as you all might know, I went to all my scare events as the Skin Snatcher again this year, and one big part of that costume is the mask, which I know that a lot of scare events, they don't like you wearing face masks for security reasons and stuff like that, so I never usually wear the Skin Snatcher mask. I think in the past it's only been if people wanted a photo, and in that case I put the mask on, took the photo, took it off straight away, and then hung it on the dungarees that I wear with the costume. When I went to Thorpe Park, and it was already like enough of a sort of like a grueling journey in a way, because I'd already been at Scarefest the full day before on opening day. I then had to get up early, go on a train up to London in full Skin Snatcher outfit. Then I think there might have been a delay at one of the changes or something, so I was staying to like wait at a station for about an hour. Can't remember which one it was now, but yeah, and it was quite warm weather, surprisingly warm weather for October as well. Then got to Chertsey, which is where I was staying, because recommended that it was within walking distance, which is partially true. It's 40 minutes walk, but which is fine sometimes, but I'd already had like a long journey there in the morning, and so then like a big 40-minute walk after that, especially in, again, quite surprisingly warm weather, in the full Skin Snatcher outfit. Yeah, it was quite tiring. So then I got to Thorpe at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, very tired. I just wanted to get onto Park, have a bit of a chill. And then I went through security, and when I went through security last year as the Skin Snatcher, they saw the Skin Snatcher mask and then asked if I was going to wear it. I said no, it's just going to hang on the dungarees, and then they said fine and let me through. This year they didn't do that. Instead, they said they'd have to take the mask, and it was either that I could go and put it in my car, which I didn't have a car because I walked, or I would have to hand it to them permanently. So I think permanently seized was the terminology they used. So basically handing it over permanently. So I kind of didn't really have a choice at that point. I could have stuffed it, gone back out, stuffed it under the dungarees to pretended that I put it in my car, but I didn't want it to be like that they would check that and then, they'd become more angry. And also, I feel like, because I saw a lot of some people kind of saying this about the Thorpe Park security as well, but it feels very unwelcoming when you're there and kind of stressful going through that situation. So it felt like a very pressured thing for me, and obviously I had my anxiety, so I didn't want to argue with security and get kicked off, so I had to hand the mask over. And yeah, that was very upsetting for me because, it's not just like this mask was bought. I spent a lot of time making that Skin Snatcher mask. And yeah, it means a lot to me. It has a lot of sentimental value. I've had it at a lot of events, including Fright Nights. So yeah, so it was very upsetting to have it taken away. And I assumed when they said that it was going to be permanently seized, that it was going to be destroyed because I wouldn't be able to get it back and they'd just throw it away somewhere. And so I did what every sane enthusi would do and went to Twitter. I mainly did that because normally when people need to get in touch with Thorpe, they normally do it through Twitter. In my kind of mad panic rush, I just thought, go to Twitter and try and get some help there, I guess. A lot of them suggested to go to the kind of help desk. It's like the customer service desk in a way, and go and ask them. So I did that later on. I did my maze combi first, just to get through that, and also to give Thorpe maybe a bit of time to respond on Twitter. With the mazes, I thought trailers was fine. Survival Games actually had the best run through I've ever had on it. I actually had a really nice interaction with the actors who, I think they must have thought I was a buckwheat, and so they actually took me to one side in the maze and had a bit of an interaction. I think they must have played a buckwheat in the past, and so yeah, it was a nice little interaction there, which is good. And then Stitches, I think it was a good maze. It's just I had a bad run through of it, and unfortunately I only got to do the one run through, so yeah, it wasn't really the best experience. And I saw on some of the press night stuff, they had the Victor Hamble mask from the Boiler House that they've reused for that maze. And so I was looking forward to seeing that, but unfortunately they didn't have that on my run, so that was a little bit disappointing. But that's not really the biggest issue. I think it's just more that I wasn't at the right point in the group. I just didn't really have much of a good run through, and I was tired and really upset. Literally when I was walking onto Park, I was near to tears because of this whole situation. But anyway, so after I'd been through my maze combi, I went to guest services and asked them about this situation. And so then they rang up security, and security said that they couldn't give me back the mask. No reason why, not that they destroyed it, not that they didn't have it anymore, which they did have it. I'll explain about that in a minute. But there was no explanation. It was just they couldn't give it me back, which I didn't really know why. And I heard a few people on Twitter saying that, you know, they do have the right to take the mask, and they did. My issue was more with the fact that they were permanently seizing it, so I couldn't go and collect it from somewhere at the end of the day. And I even asked them that on security, like, where can I collect it? And it's like, oh, no, we're going to be taking it permanently. And it's like, you know, like, they could have collected it from somewhere else later, which would have been nice. You know, obviously they have a lost property there, I'd assume, so they could have put it there and I could have collected it when I left. You know, if it was that big of an issue with me having it on park, which it wasn't the previous year, but whatever. But anyway, so yeah, so there was no reason from security. So then I went onto the live chat feature on the website and tried to do it through there, and kind of got a very kind of stubborn response from them as well, basically like, oh, well, it's in our terms and conditions on our website and stuff. And it was like, well, then I asked them, was this the same terms and conditions as last year? Because obviously last year they let me have the mask on park, and they said yes. And so then I didn't really understand why it wasn't put into place last year and yet it is this year. And it's just, it was a very messy situation. I was feeling really shit by the end of the day. My phone was on low charge, so I left the park early. I think I did Crows and Walking Meadow before I left with one of the mods from the VTO Discord, Mike. So I got to briefly meet him, which was really nice to meet you, Mike. But then I snuck off because I was feeling awful, to be honest, after the whole situation. And as I said, my phone was on low charge and I needed to use that as like a GPS to get back to my hotel in Chertsey, and so I had to do the walk all the way back in the dark. And by the time I got back, I had a load of notifications on Twitter, because thankfully a load of people on Twitter like shared this and shared my posts and everything, and really supported me with it and stuff. And eventually Thorpe got in touch and said that I could go and collect the mask. But the problem with that was I just got back to the hotel and I probably couldn't get back to the park in time, but also I couldn't be bothered to walk that 40 minutes back again. And so I got in touch with them over a live chat thing on, so it was like a chat on Twitter, and eventually we managed to get it so the mask could be delivered to me, and so I got the mask back, luckily. But I think it's just the fact that the whole situation could have just been avoided if it could have been handled a bit better. Either that I could have just had the mask on park, because again, it was never going to be worn on my face. It never gets worn on my face. It would have just been hanging off the dungarees as a part of the costume, and there wouldn't have been an issue. Or it could have been that they took the mask, but then they said, right, you can collect it from here when you leave. That would have solved the situation. Yeah, I would have been a little bit annoyed by that, but at least I wouldn't have been like, it wouldn't have ruined my day, because I feel like it was genuinely one of the worst theme park experiences I've had, just because of the way that situation was handled. Not even the decision to take the mask, not even like the policy, just the way that was handled. It just made it, just the worst day I've had on a theme park, to be honest. As I said in the Forbidden Valley update for Virtual Towers Online, it's probably going to take a few visits before I'm, kind of back in good faith with Thorpe in a way, just because, this whole situation was just very upsetting and distressing for me. So, that was another reason why Scare Season wasn't great. And why I didn't film Fright Nights, because I just wasn't feeling great. But then fortunately the Scare Season ended on a little bit more of a high, because I went to Alton Towers on Halloween. I normally like to go on Halloween each year. It's just to give me something to do to keep me occupied. But on Halloween I didn't film or anything. I kind of want Halloween to kind of be my day from now on, in a way. It's almost like my Christmas day in a way. So I went on that day, had a Combi of Mazes booked and stuff. And I thought I was actually going to get depressed on that day as well, but fortunately there was one thing that actually kind of kept me grounded, kept me sane at that point, which was someone who I actually mentioned in the Altonville Mine Tours audio walkthroughs, which was Chloe. So Chloe, if you haven't watched that video, she's one of the actors from Altonville. She does a great job in there, but during that day she was messaging me while I was on park, and it kept me company for the day, which was really nice. And it was also, it was really nice, especially for the fact that it was her last day. It's possibly going to be her last day that she ever does the maze, because she's moving on to different things. Fortunately, she's been successful in some of that, which is good. But the fact that she was probably already feeling pretty emotional on that day anyway, and very busy, because it was Halloween, and yet she still had the time to keep me company in a way, which was really nice and lovely. And another nice thing as well was that I briefly got to meet her before her shift was on, and genuinely one of the loveliest people I've met. She's really nice, really kind, especially to take that time out before a shift to, briefly meet me was really nice. So thank you, Chloe, for that. You genuinely stopped me from becoming depressed on that day, which really means a lot, to be honest, that you'd, because it's like she doesn't really even know who I am. Like, I'm just like a random Altonville fan who probably keeps pestering her too much. But yeah, just the fact that someone's willing to take that time out, it really means a lot. So thanks for that. And yeah, it made my Halloween better. I still got depressed on the way home, mine, but for the day, yeah, it was really nice. And with those audio walkthroughs, I remember the first run through I did of that Altonville run was such a good run through, and it was great, and Chloe was brilliant on it. If you could hear through that audio walkthrough, she was fantastic with it. So yeah, so at least Halloween and scare season kind of ended on a high, which was good. So then my final visit to Park was on fireworks. I finally went to Alton Towers fireworks for the first time. And I went on the final day of the season because, I thought if there was going to be anything that happened at Nemesis or whatever, that would happen on the final day. But I think we all know what happened there. Yeah, I was there at the time. It was kind of hilarious. But I thought that fireworks was going to be a day where I wasn't going to be doing great because I was already feeling shit and I was just kind of tired at the end of the season, if I'm honest. But I met up with James 2. I think I mentioned in the Forbidden Valley update, again, the story behind that. But yeah, I met up with James 2, Jamie Jaunts. Met up with him a couple of times. It was really great to see him again. But later on in the day, I actually managed to hang out with some of the rest of the people in this group that I was with. And I actually I think made a few new friends, which was really nice. I think a couple of them were James and Laura from Theme Park Jam, who I've kind of briefly seen on Park, so I recognise them. But this was the first time that I actually got to spend time with them, and they were lovely. There was also Mark from Theme Park United, who I've seen at a couple of the Towers Times events. He's great. He's a really good laugh. And just getting to spend the day with them, it was genuinely one of the best days that I've had on Park. Like, going from Thorpe Park being one of the worst days I'd had to fireworks at Alton Towers being one of the best, just for spending time with them. Yeah, it was genuinely just a really good, fun day. And we didn't even really go on that many rides necessarily, but just kind of like having a laugh around Park was really great. And the fireworks display was actually quite good as well. I think I'd watched the 40th anniversary one that they did. I think it was in 2021, and I wasn't really too impressed by that, but I think this one, it was actually pretty good. I loved the Curse at Alton Manor section. It was brilliant. Some of the kind of like projections that they had on the water was brilliant there. So fireworks was a nice little end to the season. After that, we've had Christmas, which has been tough. It always is tough with Christmas because not only just with the time of the year, I say it's like with a lot of other holidays, you kind of like there's an expectation to be happy and jolly, and so it's very difficult when you're depressed to be around these holidays, and also having to meet up with a lot of family and stuff, which is very difficult as well. Social anxiety goes up, and I'm not really the closest with my family, to be honest. I kind of am more close with my friends than my family, so that makes kind of like family meetups quite difficult. So Christmas has been rough for that, but it's also because when I mentioned about my suicide attempts, they were during the Christmas period back in 2019, so it would have been actually when this channel started around about actually. But that always brings back terrible memories from that time, and obviously makes me have more suicidal thoughts, which isn't great. So it's always a rough period of time. And then after that we have New Year's, which is coming up, which is always depressing because you look back on the year that you've already had and you feel like you've not done much, and then you've got a new year coming up, which is very daunting, and so that's always a messy time. And then you got February with Valentine's Day. Bleh. Seriously, when you're single on Valentine's Day, it's just the worst. And then I got my birthday coming up in February as well, so that's just another year closer to death. So it's just like kind of like a lot of things, one after the next. But with Christmas, I've just about managed to get through it. I managed to just about get through Christmas Day. Fortunately, we didn't really have too many family members over, so that was a bit easier to deal with, but even then it was still quite difficult. And we've had more family members between Christmas and New Year's come up, which means, it's just added to the stress a little bit. And so I've just been trying to take it easy for myself as well. So it's been a relatively rough end to the year, to a year that's already been quite rough in general, with losing a few people at the start of the year, and having to go through uni and finishing that off, which was incredibly stressful, having the backlog to go through. But I would say with the backlog, actually, that is actually the one thing that's been keeping me sane recently, going through this backlog, editing it all, getting the videos up. It's been keeping me really, really busy and occupied, and I think it's the one thing that's really been, you know, just keeping me distracted this entire time, which has been good. I mean, obviously there's been other people as well that have been a massive help, and I'm going to mention a few of them at the end of this video, but yeah, the YouTube backlog as well has been really helpful, and it's why hopefully now that I've got it done and can move on to new things, I can have that keeping me distracted, and hopefully getting some nice content out to you lovely people watching this video. And if you are still watching this video, I'm surprised. It's incredibly depressing. Speaking of new stuff, the backlog is now done, which means that, yeah, we've got a load of new stuff planned. I mentioned some of it in, well, the last channel update and in the Forbidden Valley update for Virtual Towers Online. So I've got I think Minecraft's probably the first thing that I'm going to do, simply because it's what I've done before on the channel, so it's kind of like good to get something familiar in first. Then there's a kind of YouTube series that I'm going to be reacting still keeping that secret. It'll be really good though. It's kind of like a horror series online on YouTube, which I'm really interested in. They've got a new installment coming out, I think, at the end of January, so I can kind of make a start on kind of recapping the other episodes in this series, as I think there's a game with it as well, like a horror game, so that'll be fun for me to have to play on the channel. And then there's also Power Wash Simulator, which I'm going to do, which should also be just like a nice chill game. And that's not even like the limit of what I want to do. There's so many other things that I want to do on the channel as well, but it's just with time and stuff. And I think also some things are going to be like based around like subscriber goals and stuff for when I can do new stuff. But yeah, you know, there's so many things I want to do. And also, of course, the theme park stuff when theme park season comes back, and scare season, all that stuff's still going to be here. So yeah, hopefully should be a good year, hopefully for 2024. Not necessarily for mental health wise, I can't see that changing for a while until I get new therapy, but at least for the channel, hopefully things should improve. Hopefully the channel can keep me occupied, and yeah, hopefully that should be good. Another thing that I thought I'd mention as well is that while I'm recording on this lovely camera, I thought as well I might record on this as well for channel updates, just because it makes it like a little bit more personal, a little bit more relaxed instead of on the webcam and stuff. So I thought, you know, I might film on this camera for now, this lovely camera. Ooh. Yeah, this is one of the best things that I got this year as well. But yeah, with this camera now and with my footage from my webcam and stuff, just any footage, is now going to be at 30 FPS. Probably didn't really make much of a difference to most of you anyway, but the reason why is because on my editing software DaVinci Resolve, it now doesn't like 60 FPS footage. It just does not want to play whatsoever. It just keeps like stuttering, glitching, while on 30 FPS it's fine. I think it must just be because my PC can't process it, but then again, it used to be able to process 60 FPS, now it can't. I don't know, but anyway, so from now on I'm just going to cap it to 30 FPS. Like, there's no point in recording it in 60 if I'm just going to use it at 30, so from now on it's all going to be 30. And to be honest, I think it looks good enough at 30. It looks nice at 60, but 30 is serviceable and it looks pretty good. It'll still be at 1080p and stuff, so that'll be fine. So yeah, I just thought that's another little update, like, you know, an actual update to the channel instead of an update to my depressing life. And then final kind of update is that I've reached 80 subscribers. Yay! Very close to 100. I think I actually mentioned in the last video that it went back down to 79. It went back up to 80, so I don't know how that happened. But yeah, I guess just thank you to everyone who's subscribed to this channel for some reason. But yeah, hopefully might be able to get to 100. That'd be good. I do have something planned for 100 subscribers, which should be good. It's not like a video or anything. It's more like I've kind of like based different kind of developments with my channel around different subscriber goals. So I've got one for 100. I've got one kind of planned out for 1,000 again. Not that I think I'm ever going to get to 1,000, but I have it planned. So yeah, hopefully we can build that up. I think we could possibly get to 100 subscribers next year, but I really don't put much pressure on it, to be honest. It's like, you know, it doesn't really matter to me too much. It's more like kind of like a little yay achievement rather than me actually taking it too seriously. You know, this channel's more of a hobby for me, and it's also really kind of like a way to kind of connect with other people. It's kind of like my resume in a way. I think I put that in my channel description. It's like almost like everything to do with me, and it's like, if you want to watch that, then great, and you know, I might be able to make new connections, new friends through it. But if not, then fine, don't have to watch it. But you know, it's just wanting to make it like authentically me as much as possible. And that's kind of what things like these channel updates are about, you know, being open and honest about not just the good stuff, but also the shit, bad, terrible stuff as well that I'm going through on a daily basis. So hopefully, you know, the channel can grow. As I say, not really too much pressure on it, but, you know, it's always nice to see it continue and develop. So I just wanted to finish the video off with a few thank yous to some people who have genuinely kept me going this year. I hope they all don't mind being mentioned. It's all positive stuff, so hopefully they don't mind. But I've got a list of people. It's not everyone. I'm sure there are other people that I've forgotten or that, yeah, I probably missed off accidentally, so I'm sorry if I have, but there have been so many people. I'd probably be here all day if I was talking about the amount of people who've been there for me this year. So first, I just want to say a massive thank you to Joe and Aaron, who were my Scare Seekers co-hosts. Unfortunately, the podcast isn't back anymore. It is kind of in a new form on Love to Explore. I'll talk about that in a second, but yeah, we have a Scare Seekers undertone now, which isn't necessarily the same as the podcast. It's more kind of like a kind of scare-related Love to Explore episodes essentially that I go on every once a month, so that's always nice to be involved with. It's kind of a way to keep the Scare Seekers brand alive in a way, but yeah, just massive thanks to Joe and Aaron. They've, you know, I think Joe genuinely has become one of my closest friends this year, and it's crazy as well because we only met like briefly last year at Scarefest, and now I just feel like we just like have so many similarities and stuff, which is great. And even though we haven't really been able to meet up too much this year just because of how busy things have been, yeah, it's just always great to talk and chat, and I hope that we can see each other much more in 2024. And of course with Aaron as well, really nice to see him as well throughout this year, especially when we did like the Dark Pasty tour. It was really good to spend time together, and yeah, hopefully, and with Burton Screamfest as well, of course, that was lovely as well. So yeah, just a huge massive thank you to those two. Then I've got Mike and Stace from Love to Explore. It's kind of crazy as well how we first met, because it was on opening day, but we didn't know each other at that point. We only knew each other after Scare Seekers started, which is crazy. But yeah, I've been on Love to Explore a bunch of times on their live streams and stuff, as I say, with Scare Seekers Undertow, which is now a thing. And so yeah, and especially with Stace as well, I've been talking to her so much about stuff like going on in the background behind the scenes with my mental health and stuff, and she's been a massive help. Same with Joe and Aaron as well, same with a lot of people on this list, to be honest. But yeah, and you know, getting to see all the stuff with like her guinea pigs as well. She's got a lovely new guinea pig now called Ember, who is basically like my cat Phoebe but as a guinea pig. So cute. But yeah, just Mike and Stage just for being there as well, which has been really nice, keeping me company on some nights. We did over Christmas some like movie watch along things, which were really nice and fun to do. So yeah, so just thanks for inviting me to those. I'll be more than happy to help with the channel at any point whenever you need me for stuff. And then we've got Ellie Mansell, who's theme park. I think it's either Travel and Theme Parks Hub or Theme Park and Travel Hub. It's one of the two. Hopefully I might be able to put a card on or something. I don't know. But yeah, she's been there for quite a bit. I think we met in the VTO Discord server to start off with, then at Mardi Gras, and yeah, we've done a few trips to Towers as well, which has been really nice to keep you company there. So and also sometimes even coming up to Crew as well to come and see me. So that's been very nice. Also got Nathan as well. You saw him in the Scare Amazing video. He joined me for that day. Again, just another one of them examples where if I didn't have him there, I think it would have been like a lot worse of a day in a way, because I wouldn't have had that kind of company and that kind of grounding in a way. So yeah, so it's been very nice to spend the year with you as well, Nathan. Which has been lovely. Also the Joneses, coasting with the Joneses, been very supportive as well. It's been very nice to meet them at events and stuff, and again kind of over DM, being able to talk about different stuff, which has been really nice and supportive. So thanks for that. Then we got Roller Coaster Rachel, who I've only met briefly a couple of times, but whenever I have, she's been, I think I mentioned in one of the other videos, that she's been like a very bright spark for me this year as well, just bringing so much positivity and such kindness, and again, like another person who doesn't really know who I am, so she has no reason to like be kind to me in any way whatsoever, and yet she is. Like whenever I've seen her at like the Towers Times events and stuff, she's always kind of seemed to have time to, you know, a bit of time in the day just to talk to me and stuff, which has been lovely. And she's so enthusiastic about the costumes that I do as well. Which is lovely and great, and she's got some great costumes herself with her and Saps, which is brilliant, and hopefully we can meet up more in 2024. That'd be great. So yeah, thank you Rachel for all that. Then we've got Luke, Coaster Gen, basically like anyone, Coaster Gen, so Luke, James. I think a lot of the VTO team now are kind of interspliced with that. I don't know, but yeah, just thanks to all you guys. I remember I actually met them briefly in September at Alton Towers. I was just going for the day randomly, and they just so happened to be there as well. So we met up for the day, which was lovely. And yeah, again, hopefully we can meet up more in 2024. That'd be great. Yeah, just to do more theme park stuff. But yeah, it's always great to see you guys whenever I'm on park. And then there's Chloe that I mentioned again, not only for putting up with my Altonville bullshit, but also again just for being kind and being there for me and listening to me whenever I'm about to talk about all this depressing shit. You've been, very kind to deal with that and put up with it and just try and help me as much as you can, which I always appreciate. Again, with all these people, that counts. But yeah, with Chloe as well, just again another person who has no reason to be kind to me whatsoever, and yet you are, so thank you very much. There's also someone called Rue, or Ruby I think, which she was someone who got in touch after the whole mass debacle at Thorpe. She was one of the people who DM'd me, but I actually remembered her from Scarefest last year. I did a run through of Altonville Mine Tours, and I was with her and her partner Callum, I think that's his name, and then we came out afterwards and had a nice conversation, and I didn't think that she'd remember me from last year, and yet she did. And again, she's just been another person who, like, over DM, I've been able to talk about a few things and get some stuff off my chest, which has been really nice. So thanks, Rue. Is it Rue or Ruby? I don't know. I know she has a cat, I think, called Pumpkin. He's adorable, looks so cute, lovely ginger cat. And yeah, so thank you again. And then we've got Laura W. She's on Twitter as well. I think some people might know her in the community. Again, another example of someone who's just been able to be there for me to talk to whenever I need. Again, someone who doesn't know me whatsoever, and yet just have been kind enough to lend an open ear, I guess, and just be able to talk through stuff whenever I needed. That's the thing with a lot of people, it's just being able just to talk to about stuff, even if they can't help, even though they don't have a solution, just being able to talk sometimes really helps. So thank you for that, Laura, and everyone else. Right, we're nearly there. There's a list of people. So second to last, Marley, who I don't really think I've ever mentioned on the channel before. So he's someone who I used to go to uni with. We were originally on the same course, and then we changed over. I was on special effects. He moved over to model making, which looked way more fun as well. But yeah, he's a massive Doctor Who fan. I'm a big Doctor Who fan as well, and he's really the only person I've been in touch with from uni since. And he's again just been a massive support for me. Been there for me constantly. And we met up in London as well. I think a few months back, I think it was actually on the weekend of Thorpe Park actually. And yeah, we met up on the Monday, I think. And so, yeah, so it was really nice to see him there. We did a Doctor Who escape room, which was really fun. We lost, but, it was still fun to do and fun to see him. But again, just a big thank you for that, and keeping me company, talking about Doctor Who stuff, which has really been nice, but also just, again, trying to talk with me about my mental health bullshit that I have to go through. So, again, thank you for that. And then for a last thank you, which I'm actually going to have to get up from the chair and turn on the light, because a big thank you... I'm not going to say the biggest thank you. You've all been brilliant people, but big thank you to you, Phoebe. My adorable little baby. Yeah? You've been so cute, even though you keep trying to bite me sometimes. You are an adorable little baby, and you've been keeping me sane for this past year, so thank you very much. Do you want to give me a kiss? There we go. Give me a kiss. There we go. But yeah, Phoebe and Winnie. I don't know where Winnie is right now. She's probably downstairs, but... yeah, these two cats have been keeping me sane for the past year, and yeah, I love them so much. It's kind of like the only physical contact I get with anyone or anything. I don't really get physical contact from people because I'm usually alone. So, yeah, my cats really help with that. They're so adorable. Let's just get you on camera, my little baby. Oh, yeah, cute little cat stuff. Anyway, so I think that's pretty much everything on my list. Sorry if this has been incredibly rambly. I just thought it'd be a nice kind of thing just to end out the year. Almost like to relieve a load of baggage as well, and just hopefully go into 2024 with a fresh new perspective and take, I guess. New, fresh content, which actually might be out on time for once. Hopefully I can keep myself busy with that, and yeah, just hopefully try and have a better year, hopefully. And I guess it's kind of like a New Year's video. I'm hoping to try and get it out New Year's Day or New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, because it's New Year's Eve tomorrow. If I can get the edit done quick enough, I might be able to get it out New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, or whenever I get it out. But I guess it's kind of like a end of year video, so I hope everyone else has had a better year than I have. And yeah, I just hope that everyone has a good year next year. We've got a lot of stuff to be excited for. Nemesis, Retrack, Hyperia. If I'm not pissed off at Thought Park still, it's fine. I'm sure I'll be fine at some point with them. You know, probably I've got a new Scare event that I'll be going to next year as well. Hopefully more meetups, hopefully, you know, get to know more people, which would be brilliant. Get to know the people who I already know better, which would be really nice. You know, maybe get to meet up with a few of them, which would be great. But yeah, just hopefully we can all have a better year. I know the past few years in general, you know, have been terrible. You know, we've had a pandemic, we've had cost of living, we've had wars going on. Like, it literally feels like the end of the world at this point. But you know, God knows what's going to happen in 2024. But yeah, just hopefully we can all get through it together. I don't know. But anyway, I've been rambling on for long enough. This is over double the length of the last channel update, by the way, so this is going to be incredibly fun to edit. But yeah, I guess until 2024, me and Phoebe, you want to say goodbye? No? Oh, there you go. She bit me. Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, till 2024, I guess I will see you next time. Bye.